Now to discuss this further, we're being joined by Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, who is a distinguished fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation. He's also served in the Indian missions to Cote d'Ivoire, Bangladesh, Mongolia, USA, Russia, Sweden and Nigeria, Libya as well as Jordan. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
My first question to you, sir, today, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is the second day of the BRICS Summit. We saw on day one that there were a lot of talks regarding the expansion of the BRICS Summit. Of course, there seems to be some deep divisions on what sort of course of action they want to take next. What can you tell us about this? How do you assess this?
Well, as you know, that world is going through a global churn, and there is a tremendous crisis of confidence in the bipolar world as well as in the unipolarity of the various major powers. And therefore, there is a greater emphasis on multilateralism, plurilateralism, and the BRICS provides that kind of a comfort zone for various global south countries as well as for the middle powers. And therefore, there is a rush that we are seeing about 40 countries are looking to join the BRICS. In my view, the question is that as India says, and the Prime Minister Modi has also mentioned that we need to have certain objective criteria rather than just try to create a major implosion and admit everyone. So therefore, guiding principles have to be done. We have seen in the SCO, India, it took 15 years for India to join there. So expansion is a must. When is a question, if is not a question. So there is going to be an expansion for various reasons, because BRICS has been a success story to a great extent. It was supposed to be an emerging economies club, which will eventually dictate the course of the global trade and economy, which it was doing. But it also has its own internal contradictions, as you said, that each country has its own approach to the expansion, has its own favorites, perhaps. So this has to be seen that how a consensus can be arrived at on those parameters under which various countries can be admitted. And this is a good thing because, see, the countries you have mentioned, Saudi Arabia and other lot of Gulf countries, countries from Argentina and Bangladesh and others who want to join. Now you will see that many of them are oil-rich economies. And where is their markets? Their markets are in India and China, or Japan and South Korea, basically the Asian markets. So they are following Act East policy. It's very much a part of it, even though it has a continental footprint coming from 4 continents. So I think that there is going to be eventually when it is. Secondly, this also provides a certain kind of a strategic autonomy and a certain affiliation with the non-Western, I would say, an organization.
Right, sir.
Right, Ambassador, you speak of how the world is going through a global churn at the moment. But talk to us as to how the ongoing summit gives the platform to discuss the concerns of for the global south.
Well, you know that nearly the first thing is the theme that South Africa has chosen, as invited all African countries, and 69 countries are participating from different continents. Now that in itself, and the theme of this is essentially, as we know, is how to have these accelerated growth, for example, how to have the inclusive multilateralism and sustainable development. I mean, those are the major issues that are impacting currently, be it as a result of the pandemic or Russia-Ukraine war. What the Russia-Ukraine war has really focused is on the 4 Fs, and all 4 Fs are extremely important. One is the weaponization of the financial instruments. Another is the weaponization of the food, fertilizer, and fuel. Now, all these things have directly impacted the global south. And therefore, in India, as you know, under its G20 presidency, the first thing Prime Minister Modi did was to call for a meeting with the global south. 125 countries participated. They expressed what kind of a platform, what kind of needs that they have that need to be plugged going forward in the G20. And earlier next month, we also have the visit of Xi Jinping and others. So leaders will be descending in New Delhi to discuss other things in a much larger platform. So these issues will be carried forward from here. So India is there, which is looking for it. South Africa, which is the host country, obviously in the 2015 also they had mentioned about it. And they want the African countries to be on board. How the African Continental Free Trade Agreement can be plugged with the BRICS? how the new development bank's footprint can be expanded. Those are the major issues that they are going to discuss. Of course, the currency trading, increasing trade in the national currencies, and Russia will probably flag that it is there for the African countries when it had a Russia-Africa summit recently in St. Petersburg. So they might say that we are ready to provide food and fuel if necessary to the African countries. Now, so all these countries are trying to focus on the global south because the real action is going to be in the global south going forward.
Right. All right, Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us on the show with your insights on this.
Thank you.